Hey guys, welcome to episode 20 of the Knit Now Swatch Later podcast. Oh my gosh. Hey guys, welcome to episode 20 of the Knit Now Swatch Later podcast. My name is Courtney and this is... Hey guys, welcome to episode 20 of the Knit Now Swatch Later podcast. My name is Courtney and this is a knitting and crocheting podcast where I talk about all of my crafting and whatever else is going on in my life. So you can find me on Instagram as Knit Now Swatch Later and on Ravelry as Pup, and we also have a Ravelry group that I will link down below. I'm coming to you from Pennsylvania, where I live with my husband and our 2 cats and our 2 dogs. And links to anything that I talk about, projects, shops, etc. can be found in the description box below. Alright, so for this episode, I have 3 finished objects to show you guys. 3. Who am I? So first up, I have my Summer Sock Camp socks, number 2. For the Crazy Sock Ladies Summer Sock Camp Knit Along. These are knit in Hedgehog Fibers twist sock in the colorway Malice, and this is the first pair of socks in a long time that I have knit for myself that actually fit. So I am keeping these, I am not giving them to my husband, and it's a great feeling. So here's a little bit better. Hopefully the colors are showing up. This is such a pretty yarn, but it's really hard to capture all of the colors on camera because it's so dark. But I did, I think, a 15 row cuff, 30 rows for my leg, a shadow wrap heel, and then I did 60 rounds for my foot and a rounded toe. And I knit these on a US size 1 2.25 millimeter needle. I use ChowGoo's 9-inch circulars, so I think that's everything I have to say about these. So my next finished object is my Frida top, which I will show you in sections. It's kind of big. But yeah, I finally finished this top, and I have plenty of time to get pictures of it. So hopefully I'll be able to show you guys a little bit better. So here is what it looks like. Yeah, so this was a fun knit. It took me a long time if you've been with us for a while, you guys know that I was having some problems with my hands. So that really slowed me down, and then I decided that I just didn't like the pattern that much. I like the pattern, but I don't like knitting super lacy things. So the sleeves are what took me forever to knit on this. But once I got to, like, the body is just stockinette, and I whipped out the body and the seed stitch hem like they were nothing. I think it took me like a day or 2 to do that. And then I had to pick up the sleeves and finish those off, and it took me a while. So if lace knitting is your thing, I do recommend this pattern. It would have been more fun if I was a big lace knitter, but I am not. So honestly, I only finished this because it was a test knit. So I had a responsibility to the designer to finish that. So I'm really glad that it's off of my needles, and I did try it on, and I'm not crazy for how it looks on me. I loved the way that it looked on the model, but I don't know if it's a very flattering fit for me, so we'll see. This is the Frida top by Kristen Finlay, which will be coming out, I think she said, the beginning of August. So if you're interested, keep an eye out for that. Alright, and then my third finished object is the Gable Cap by Tabby Gandy. This has been, if you follow me on Instagram, this is my Whip Basket Wednesday project. I've been trying to work through all of the projects in my whip basket, and I devote time on Wednesdays for that. So I finally have a finished object for my whip basket, and this little Progress Keeper Cogsworth is where I was the last time I showed it on the podcast, or maybe it was where it was when I pulled it out of the whip basket. I don't remember. Have I showed this to you guys on the podcast? I don't know, but anyway, that's what that marker is, and then I finished it all up and added a pom-pom. And I was also really excited because I put a button on the inside so that you can take the pom-pom off, which I've never done before. I don't know if I'll do it again, but so that was a new to me technique that I tried, and I think it worked out. I really like how sturdy the pom-pom is, and I didn't have to sew it in or anything, so that was really nice. Normally when I put a pom-pom on a hat and I just sew it in, it flops around really bad, and you can see it's pretty secure in there, so that's really nice. So moving into works in progress, I have in my library catalog card bag from the Silver Shed. This is my honeycomb blanket by Adrian Brigham, and this little piggy stitch marker is where I was last time I showed it on the podcast, so I have made a decent amount of progress on it. I'm probably maybe a quarter of the way done. This is a fun project to work on. I don't tend to gravitate towards this project because I have to look at the pattern for every row. Every single row is different, and but I do try to dedicate a good amount of time to it during the week. So I think I made decent progress since the last podcast. Next up, I have in my official summer sock camp bag by the Stitching You. I don't think that you guys have seen this yet. If you follow me on Instagram, you have seen this, but I don't think I've showed it on the podcast. So this is my summer sock camp sock number 3. This is just a vanilla sock. I did toe up for this one, and I knit the length of my foot, and then I think I did 30 rounds for the leg, and then I did 10 or 15 rounds of twisted ribbing for the cuff, and I used an elastic bind off, which I really enjoy, and then I put my marker in for an afterthought heel. So once I finish the second sock, I am planning on picking up the stitches above and below this marker and cutting into my knitting and then knitting the heel at the very end. So that is my progress on that, and here is the yarn all caked up. This is Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits yarn on her sparkle base, and the colorway is Stranger Things, which I thought was awesome. I really enjoyed that show on Netflix. So I have that, and then I am knitting them on my usual US 2.25 millimeter needles. I'm doing the magic loop toe up, so I have a longer cord. I think this is a 30-inch cord, maybe? I don't know. But whatever size it is, it works pretty well for me for magic loop. So I haven't started the second sock for those yet, but hopefully soon. Hopefully I'll have another finished pair of socks for the next episode of the podcast. And then I have in this adorable little piggy bag. I don't remember the name of the shop, and there's not a tag in here, but my sister-in-law and her fiance got this for me for my birthday, and I love it. So maybe she remembers the name of the shop and can comment below. I don't know. Liv, do you remember? In here I have my summer sock camp socks number 4, and these, I know I haven't finished my other pair, but I cast these on for a knit along being hosted by my local yarn shop, which is Habitat's Wheel, and that started on July 20th, and I really wanted to participate, so I had to cast on a new pair of socks. What can I say? So these are Husband's Favorite Sock pattern by Twin Stitches Designs, and I don't normally like textured sock patterns, but I'm really enjoying this one. It's a really simple repeat that I have pretty much memorized. Not quite. I still have to check whenever I sit down. But it's a pretty simple repeat, and I'm really enjoying the texture that it is giving, and I think it shows up really nicely on this yarn. And then the yarn that I'm using, here's what it looks like in the cake. And this is 3 Irish Girls Yarn Ink in their Springville sock base, which is 100% superwash merino wool, and the colorway is Witch's Brew. So there is the information. So that's it for works in progress this week. I do have a couple of acquisitions to talk about. First up, I have these. Here's the shop, which is Crafty Flutterby Creations, and these are the best thing ever. They're awesome. They are little end minders for your knitting. So you take your tail and you wrap it around the body of the little bunny, and then you stick it in that notch there, and it holds it out of your way. I know that I have a lot of trouble fighting with my tail. I hate when it gets in my way when I'm knitting, so these solve that problem. I think they are $6.99 or $7.99. Not too bad, and you get quite a few of them. There's actually quite a few missing from this that I've popped onto my projects already, but there's 4 left, so yeah, you get a good amount, and I am really enjoying them. So there's my first acquisition. So the next thing that I have for acquisitions, I actually won a giveaway, which never happens. So that was super fun, and it was a giveaway hosted by Hand Stitch Life on Instagram, and she sent me this cute card, and I won. First of all, I just want to show you guys the packaging. I mean, isn't it so pretty? And then the cute little thank you sticker. And then here is her card, her business card. All right, and here is what I won. It's this adorable little sheep progress keeper, and he is just so cute. I love him. And she also included a free gift in this little bag. And it's just a bunch of stitch markers and a progress keeper on one of these quilt pin things. And these, I love stitch markers like this, and the little progress keeper says made with love. I just thought that was really cute. So thank you, Jennifer, for sending that to me. Now that I've shown them on the podcast, I can't wait to start using them. Moving into chatter, like what's going on with us. So last night my husband helped me write out my show notes, and he put in that it says, husband started to knit, show his bookmark, in quotes. So I'm assuming he wants me to show that to you guys. I taught him how to knit a little while ago. So here is his progress on his little bookmark so far. He's just learned how to cast on and knit. So he's just knitting back and forth. And this way you can also see he stole one of my end minders. So you can see one of those in action. He took it as soon as he saw what they were and said, hey, my tail is way too long and I want to use that. So he went ahead and helped himself to that. So it looks like he's got maybe 4 rows of garter stitch here. And I think he's doing a really good job. See, these are some really old needles that I have. I think these are a size 7, I want to say. And these are just generic needles that I think I got from, I got these from Joann a long time ago. I want to say that they're boy needles, that's the brand, but I don't know. I haven't used these needles in forever. So there's that. So I did have a few questions on the last episode of the podcast left in the comments and also on Ravelry. So I'm going to move into those. And these are a little bit out of order because some of them were very similar. So starting with Allison De Laurentiis, she asked, would you consider getting any more pets? For me, I'm done for several years. So right now we have 2 cats and 2 dogs. And I would love to get another dog, but right now my husband is not open to that idea. So I think we're done for now. And then next up, Fiberbound says, I am so inspired by your podcast and am considering starting my own. Do you have any tips for starting a podcast? So thank you so much for saying that. That makes me happy. As far as tips for starting a podcast, I would just start. If you have a tripod and a smartphone, that's all you need. That's all I started with. And if you look back at some of my beginning episodes, they're not great. The lighting isn't great, and I worked with what I had. I was using the front-facing camera on my phone, which apparently is not as good of quality as the rear-facing camera, so keep that in mind if you decide to start recording. And the only tips that I can think of would be to don't be afraid to share your podcast with people. I think you'd be surprised how many of your friends and family will be super supportive and follow you and subscribe and all of that right away. So that's pretty much all that I did for my podcast. And kind of rolling into the next question on Ravelry, Pirates for Hire asked, do you actively promote your podcast or has it grown organically? I'm just barely dipping my toes into YouTube and I hate self-promoting. I get that. I understand where you're coming from, and I used to be the same way. I don't really like to talk about myself and I don't like to promote myself, but eventually I got over it. Some of my knitting groups have a self-promo day, like self-promo Saturday, or just whatever day of the week that you're allowed to self-promote your business, or in my case, my podcast. And I have started actively promoting there. And I don't think I've actually gotten any new subscribers from that yet, but I think that as long as I keep showing up and sharing what I'm working on and thumbnails for my podcast, that eventually that will help out. And then I have started just recently, if you follow me on Instagram, you may have noticed that I've started doing a daily hashtag. So I have a theme set for every day of the week except for Thursday on my Instagram, and just being consistent and showing up there for my viewers has seemed to really help. I've gotten a lot more subscribers and followers on Instagram since I started doing that. So just be consistent, pick a day to record your podcast and edit it and upload it, and just stick to that schedule for yourself. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. Good luck to both of you. I can't wait to watch your podcasts. And then Pirates for Hire also asked, if you could only pick knit or crochet for the rest of your life, which would you choose? And I believe I answered this question a few episodes back, but I will answer it again in case you're new here. If I had to choose, I would stick with knitting. I think that there's a lot more options when it comes to knitting, and I've been a lot more happy with my finished products for knitting. I find that it's easier to maintain my tension, and just there's more wearable garments in the knitting world, I think. So I think I would stick with knitting, although crochet does work up a lot faster, so keep that in mind. And then the last question for this week, Paula1982 asks, I made my first pair of socks and it is my second completed project. A dishcloth was my first. Do you have any tips for me, and what's your favorite heel pattern? So as far as sock knitting goes, I think you need to find the method that you're more comfortable with using, and once you find that, knitting socks will be a breeze. So when I first started knitting, I thought that double pointed needles were the only possible way that you could knit socks. So I hated knitting socks because I hate double pointed needles. But once I discovered Magic Loop, I started knitting socks a little bit more, but I still wasn't crazy for the method. And then I think I was watching the Hey Sister podcast, and they showed that they had 9-inch circular needles. Ever since then, I've bought like 4 sets of them, and I just got the ChowGoo mini shorties and all of that. I love knitting on 9-inch circulars, and I always have a pair of socks on the needles now. So I think you need to find your method and get into your groove that way, and that'll be super helpful in keeping up your motivation. And I also know that for some people, they like to alternate between different sock methods, which occasionally I do, but I have my definite favorite. So another thing to keep in mind there. And then she asked, what's your favorite heel pattern? So that's a really good question. I am still trying to find my favorite heel pattern. I can tell you for sure that I do not like the slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset. I don't like anything with a gusset. So right now I am experimenting with the shadow wrap heel that I use for my husband, but for myself, I don't really care too much for the fit on my heel. I'm still gonna wear my socks that I just finished, but I don't like the way that it puckers at my heel. But I did find in my drawer today a pair of knitted socks I knit a long time ago that I love the fit of, and I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel for these. So I might start doing that again for mine, and then do the shadow wrap heels for Ben's. So what about you guys? What's your favorite sock heel? If you could comment below and let us know. I am really enjoying experimenting with the different heel types, so just let me know. And if you have a question that you would like for me to answer in the next episode, please make sure that you ask your question in the comments or hop over to the Ravelry thread and post it in the Ask Me thread. And I think that's it for this episode, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I share a podcast every 2 weeks. So until next time, happy knitting, guys. Bye.